I came back up and she finished listening to it. I just sat there. I said, "Tell me what you thought," and she gave her thoughts, and she very much not concise in what she said. In terms of, I don't think she even knew what she was trying to say. Uh, Aside from the outset, in terms of, okay, she said, yeah, but when I talk to my mom about concepts that she either has never thought about or is on the outset antagonistic to, um, it very much comes from a defensive place, especially when it implicates her.
Okay.
And so when she started rambling, it was very much, it was not, there were plenty of ideas that I thought were really interesting that you brought up in terms of that these maps are unbiased. I think that's um, the maps are, you look at a map and you never go, okay, well, this is not an accurate thing. It's you sort of go, okay, well, we know that it's not a satellite view in terms of
Right.
most people are not using satellite view, but we still expect it to have everything. We don't even the when it guides you. Of course, they can't take everyone down the same route, otherwise it's going to get congested, and so they have
Right.
to take people down different routes. I
But
can't even
imagine that they
believe.
told you like, oh, like this route is slower. Thank you for
Mhm.
taking it. No one's gonna take that, right? So they have to lie to you, right? Like, of course.
Exactly right. And so yeah, very much deceptive, and so the fact that there isn't bias there, the fact that that wasn't even something that she even wanted to mention. It wasn't. Whoa, this is actually very much concerning. The way there needs to be a view that's updated in terms of the maps. These aren't just things that exist. And also another thing that you pointed out, and I quoted it, which was that you said I'm not in navigating unfamiliar locations. They're extremely helpful, but how you think about that can be extremely limiting. Yeah, of
Yep.
course. It's seeing something as a means to an end, A to B, rather than yeah, I can meet people that tell me about the place, and because they have local context, I can actually get more of an info. Once you see something as A to B, you're sort of cutting out these really important things that existed before, which give you much more of a context of where you go. Why do you think that I was gonna say visitor scams, tourist scams are still so
Yeah.
prevalent, right? Why would they ever be so prevalent if people weren't just in their own world, examining the world rather than actually engaging with the environment that they exist in and getting that crucial context with AD scams. And so the fact that she never picked up on any of those, but it was sort of I just let her talk, right? I didn't even
Right.
interrupt her.
Right.
I just went, okay, let's talk. And she talked for a while about
Oh, okay.
how um much longer than I mean, if she talked about the whole thing, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I would expect you to go on for a while, but she's just talking about yeah, but it's really useful to get to place A to B, and then sort of just repeated that over again because you notice that when you haven't formulated what you're going to say, you sort of repeat yourself because you're sort of you haven't
Looping.
exactly
You're
formed.
circling back in on it. Yeah, you're trying to
You,
find it. You're trying to like pinpoint it, right? You're like spiraling
mm-hmm,
in.
yes, and so to reinforce that, and no, sorry, I was taking a drink. To reinforce that behavior, not that behavior, the idea. She's circling on it again and again, and she's even telling me anecdote stories. When I was specifically her big point was, and I have no idea why this would be true, which was just so much stress, using a sat nav because you don't have to you don't have to pay attention to the road signs. You can just drive. And I'm going, sorry, don't you have to pay attention to where you're going to go? Don't you have to put your trust into this is taking you in the right way? Don't you have to and if you know where you're going already, you don't actually have to do that. In terms of
Right.
if you've taken the time instead of offloading the information, instead if you took the time to actually understand your area, then you don't have to listen to instructions and then hope and pray that you're going in the right location. You don't even have to follow the signs. That can just be a little double check of, oh, am I sure this is where I'm going? And her talking about the sort of this was a contradiction. I didn't even mention it, but this was such an obvious contradiction. I can just sit there relaxing, just letting the sat nav take me where I need to go, and I'm going. Weren't you saying that you like to look at the map because because she was trying to differentiate herself from other sat nav users.
Okay.
Because I was telling her about the study.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this was a while ago. Now, I was telling her about the study, and she was saying, "No, I'm not like other sat nav users." And I'm going, "How would you even know how this study was conducted for you to know that you're not like the other participants in the survey?" It is
Right.
really crazy. But she's saying, "Oh, I look at the map," and I'm going, "You made some crucial mistakes before." Um, and so her her sort of you saying that now she can relax, she doesn't have to look at anything. How can those two things be true at the same time? They can't be true. That
They
doesn't
can be.
make any sense. And just for context, right? I'm very much I don't ever use the sat nav, and I'm very much I know the local context of where I am. I know all the surrounding villages. I know the small roads between them, and I can surmise the small roads between them, just in the direction they're going, because I'll know a parallel road, and so I'm guessing that road leads to that other parallel road, and so
Yeah.
I know these contexts, and so I'm trying to get her to pick me up because I think my pump isn't working and I had a puncture, and so I fixed the puncture, but I actually gave it another puncture, and I didn't realize that because of the levers I was using were awful. Um,
Okay.
and so I was saying, okay, get to this village. There is a bridge going between these two villages. There is an exit off the motorway. Please take this exit. And I know just from working with, yeah, used to work a delivery job at FedEx. I know that if I told my boss that, he would know exactly what I'm talking about. Because the way you collect information, you know, when you said that big hallway, you're not even talking about a hallway. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about,
yeah.
that outside bit. I know exactly what you're
Of course.
talking
Yeah. You know
about, that
exactly what I'm talking
long
about.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Even if you describe it in ways that I wouldn't even think of initially describing them. I know exactly. You're just talking about that long, like a
The
long
sped strat
shape.
window.
Hmm. And so for I can understand that even if you're not describing it in my terms, because we've been to that location a million times. It's the back of our hand, right?
Yeah.
But for her to not understand this, it just goes, okay. And by the way, this is where the frustration comes from, is that um, I'm noticing that you don't know these areas that you've lived in for 2 decades now, coming up two
Right.
decades.
Right.
I'm
Right.
getting real. I'm getting. Okay, this is really strange. This is, you used to go to work. You used to take this road every day to work. This is crazy. This is
Right.
insane. I think for and I understand that people have different priorities, but that's not a priority. That's you being in the driver's seat, you knowing where to go, and you actually having no idea on where you're going. This is down the main motorway through our county. How do you not know? This is where you're supposed to live. And so
Right.
she goes to a village that's where we used to live, where our house was. And so this place is called Margaretting, right? And so I said, go to Ingate, the bridge between Ingate Stone and Mount Nessing, which are the next two towns on the motorway. And so she goes to the bridge before, and I'm telling her, you're on the wrong bridge. And because she's in defensive mode, she's screaming at me through the phone, I'm gonna be late. She's taking my sister to swimming. She's screaming at me through the phone. I'm
Right.
going, I'm telling you, you're on the wrong place. I'd say you need to go back on the motorway and then go to where I told you to go. And so and so you could this is where my GPS hatred comes from, is that I haven't been in these situations quite frequently with my mom, where she doesn't know where she is, and I see the way I see her in the car, and she's putting the coordinates down for I say coordinates like it's fucking Minecraft, but she's putting the
Right.
coordinates
Right.
in to the house, and I'm going, you don't know how to get. You just go down the
Oh.
motorway, take a left turn, and then
Yeah.
you're at the a house. How? Why are you using this? And then
Right.
there's just a barrage of, you hate technology. When you hate technology, is you want to work in the technology field, and you don't want to utilize the technology. I'm going, I don't want
Oh
to
my God.
offload my brain to a device. That's insane. This is insane. And so this is where my vendetta comes from. And um, this is the level of defense that I get, in terms of she's not integrating what you said. She's integrating. She's she's sort of in movies they do the representation of, where you hear that like really high pitched sound of, you're getting really angry, and so you're tuning sound out,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
because yeah, and because and that's sort of, I think, what she gets. See, she gets that myopia of yeah, myopia of, I don't know how to pronounce the word, of she hears something that is going against the particular way that she exists with this technology. And so her immediate thing is justifying why she's using this technology instead of actually having a discussion on, whoa, okay, you know, what not even alternatives, or what action can I take in terms of, like, what do you even think about that maps even are biased in the first place, and that
Bro,
we're not even
yeah.
cognizant of these things. We just treat them
Oh
as
yeah.
if they're objective things. That was really disappointing. Just to
Dude,
say.
I'm sorry to hear all that. Well, okay. Well, one thing I really I forgot to mention in the little ramble that I had when I sent you that
Okay.
message was like okay, like uh people will say that maps have made, like, the navigation services have made travel much faster, to like
Mm-hmm.
specifically faster for consumers. But you can't, when you look at these studies, first they're all done by like Google. It's like, wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Their own product helps people. That's great. But besides that, it's hard to differentiate the advantages of maps specifically and the ability to communicate with people via text message and phones. Like the ability to call someone and text someone, like
Mm-hmm.
that has also made navigation way more direct and easy. Like you can know
Mm-hmm.
to meet at at a specific place at a specific time and coordinate that on the road. That's
Mm-hmm.
like a major upgrade that you can't differentiate between, because it's the same technology at the same time, right? The sat nav comes out at like roughly the same time as the cell phones do. Um, and so like that's one thing. And then another thing is that my sister, when she went to Barcelona,
Mm-hmm.
she's talking to this lady who's helping her set up her apartment, and the lady gets out a map and starts drawing on the map all these different zones and like what they are, what they
Mm-hmm.
mean, like when, like
That's
where to
so
avoid
sick.
at night, like, oh, and like think about it this way, right? Okay, maybe my sister learns that if she rides a certain train back at a certain time, it's likely to have a lot of football hooligans who maybe are going to harass her. Maybe she learns that the hard way, so
Mm-hmm.
she still learns it, but it's kind of nice that she didn't have to learn it the hard way and she knew to avoid that
Mm-hmm.
situation in the first place. You know what I mean? Like she still knows it either way because this person who's a human has interacted with her and shared the experience with her, right? But like, and then again with the tourists being as you're saying with the tourist thing, it's like, yeah, like that's why the scams are so profitable, because they know they can concentrate in certain places because they know tourists are funneled into these places by these apps. They know this
Mm-hmm.
ahead of time. And so they're camping these spots with like trinkets. Like I saw a shitload of people get robbed in the tourist areas of Europe when I was traveling there. Like
Uh-huh.
constantly, I was just hearing screaming and fighting over purses and like just crazy shit. And I'm like, whoa! And like no one's doing anything. We're all walking by, as if like, oh well, it's like we're fucking a bunch of like anchovies getting picked off by the shark and keeping swimming. Like, literally. And the sharks know where we're gonna go. They're like camping us out. So I think that the danger that's posed by not like understanding an area, and then also the toll booth thing. I think that was a really strong argument because the
Mm-hmm.
municipalities guiding you through the toll roads on purpose because that's what the city wants. Like that goes to show you they're not working in our interests.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, my interest would be no toll roads. I want no toll roads. I don't want to fucking pay to drive. But I
Uh-huh.
remember when I'm in Europe, I'm always so confused. I'm like, why are we paying for all of these like why are we constantly being navigated through toll roads, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
so I see this study, and I started learning about this a couple years later because when I'm in Europe, I didn't know about this stuff, but about the toll road stuff specifically. But looking at this, I'm like, it makes perfect sense. Like, of course, the cities are going to be pissed if you're guiding people away from the toll roads because that's how they make their money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're being informed on the area anyway, so those are some things I forgot to mention. But dude, that is really frustrating with your mom, and like the fact that she goes into the defensive mode of like, well, what is it? People are being judged who are using sat navs, so I need to make that illegitimate because I'm the kind of guy who uses sat or girl who uses sat navs.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I'd like to deflect the judgment. I need to make the question illegitimate. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need to make the question illegitimate in the first place so that you don't have to like confront or reflect on what it might mean to be navigating things in a suboptimal way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? Like it's like she's wanting to be like, oh, well, that's not even true at all, or like that's not even, oh, but it's so helpful because she's trying to stop the question of, well, what does it mean for me that I haven't put enough time into
Mm-hmm.
navigating the world as a human, right? She's wanting to avoid those line of questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like she feels like she gets attacked. Like if
Yeah,
there's any
very much
criticism or
so.
any sort of raising of things, she feels, yeah, like I just think she goes into like a defense mode where it's like, she's just parrying everything and being like, well, actually, to everything. Even if you like agree with her, she'll be like, well, actually, like because she's in
Mhm.
defensive mode. Like,
Mhm. Oh,
um,
actually, that's funny because I was actually telling her how
actually,
I was telling her how to navigate. I was saying, wait, get me to this place. I had Google Maps open, and so I'm drawing representations. You know, and basically there was the second roundabout that you go off, and I go, okay, so on the second roundabout, you turn on the first exit, and then you go up, and you're saying you go after the second roundabout. You're saying turn to the right. That's what she said. And she's saying, no, 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 that's what I'm saying, because I'm laughing as I'm saying that because it's the wrong option. And she knows that it's the wrong, she knows that I think it's the wrong option. So she's going, no, no, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. And then, then we go back and I'm going, okay, look, 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 I'm navigating this roundabout and we're on this roundabout. And then we turn left on the first exit. And then after that, you're saying go right. And she's saying, no, no, no. And then she explains to me that again, and then I explain it to her for the first time, for the third time, and she goes, "Oh yeah, 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 no, that's what I'm saying." I'm going, wasn't I saying that the other two times? You're only saying that it's wrong because I'm laughing because I think you're wrong, and so you're
right?
taking, or you're immediately going into the
No,
defense and making me rephrase again what you said. So yeah, she very much operates in that very much defensive mode. She doesn't want to stand by, or at least in that instance, you want to stand by the beliefs or even take any criticism. And this is why you have to understand that even why it was so frustrating for me to talk about the nipples thing with her, where she
oh my
was.
god, yeah.
I mean, I should be more offended over that. I was more offended about the it was not a personal thing, more of a I was really disappointed that you couldn't even engage on this topic. But what she said to me was quite frankly outrageous when I first time talked about it with her, where she said, well, she said, "Oh, you would allow your girlfriend to do this?" By the way, the prompt was, "Oh, why should we, as a society, not allow?"
Right.
That's obviously what I'm talking about. As a society, why should men be allowed to show their nipples but women not? And she's talking about a personal thing that I would do with, a potential significant other. What the fuck has that got to do with the prompt? It's a sort of nonsense attack at me, and because she's saying it, by the way, she's putting on a voice. Just for
Right.
context, she's putting on a voice when she said it. So you would allow at the beach to allow your girlfriend to, as if I'm the dictator of this. I'm the one who's allowing these things to happen.
Or as if like, oh, you're she's literally being like, so okay, we both agree patriarchy is great and that men should like control the choices of how women dress or like present themselves, right? Of course. And
Mhm.
you as a man in this situation would allow, oh, it's like, wait a minute. Do you want to have men dictate like what you can and can't wear? Like what? Like, what about you?
Yeah, this is this exactly. This is what I'm saying. So I'm thinking this is insane that you would, because it is obviously an attack against me in terms of she would allow this to happen. This is
Right.
this is clearly to
What does that say about you as a man, or what does that say about you as a
exactly.
person, or what does that say? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and no, I didn't care. I was very frustrated that she couldn't engage in the argument that I'm putting forward, and she is just abstracting it to things that are just completely irrelevant. What I choose to do and not do in my personal relationship has nothing to do with, as a legal framework. why
Right.
should
Yeah. A
why should
social
that be
framework. Yeah.
illegal? What the fuck is that got to do with anything?
Yeah. It is irrelevant because it's like, well, the whole point is that we don't even have that option.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, right?
I should have that
Like,
option. Yes. And so, um, yeah, it's very much a defensive thing. It's very
no, it's
much
very
a,
frustrating.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm very it's an idea that I'm not immediately accepting, and so it's an immediate defense and getting on the defensive of what she believes to be true by being basically ad hominem attacks. These are very irrelevant attacks. I thought, and it's very obvious that you just wouldn't say this to somebody. Yeah, I wouldn't want to phrase an argument in that way in terms of it is very much biting and offensive when you
It
say,
is. Yeah.
"Oh, you would allow," especially when you're putting on the voice. So you would allow this to
Right.
happen? Unbelievable. You would allow
Rather
a.
than being like,
Mhm,
oh, okay, so that it's more like, so you're saying like
mhm,
it's
yes.
like trying to paint you into a defensive court. It's like it's almost like she's in the defensive, so she's trying to make you go in the defensive as well. Almost.
Mhm,
It's like she's trying to put into your perspective what she's feeling, which is attacked. So she's trying to like put
Yeah.
that in, being like, well, then how about this? Like, how would
Mhm.
it feel for you for me to assume things about you based on your decisions and actions, right? She's like,
Mhm.
because she's like so focused on how it's perceiving of her rather than like the overall question in a larger
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
It's not about me. It's not about you, right? It's a larger question, right? It's like
Yes.
we're irrelevant to this. Like, obviously, I want to know your opinion, but I don't want to. But it's not like it doesn't determine how I see you that you have a certain opinion, and it right? Like,
Yes.
come on.
Yeah. So this this is the level that she engages with. So yeah, I
Well,
can't.
I don't know. I have a bunch of questions about this. Did she have any? Because I make sense. It's kind of a rambly thought. Like she's
Mhm.
hearing stuff for the first time. Uh,
Yes.
did she have any opinions about how I presented it? Did she have any opinions about like things that are like even if she didn't like how it because it doesn't sound like she agreed. It doesn't sound like she was really able to engage very well. But I'm just kind of
Mhm.
curious, like what her like kind of loop was. Was it how like what did she focus on when trying to delegitimize the argument outside of the um
She wasn't
you
necessarily
know what I mean?
trying to delegitimize the argument. It's more of,
Okay.
oh, here's why I'm justified in using the sat nav to navigate to places that I don't know about. And it's wait, but that that thing that I showed you basically talks about the limitations of thinking about the sat nav in that way. And so
Right.
and so that's where the lack of engagement comes from, is that she's not, now again, she listened to it once. But immediately this is where her brain is going. It's justifying her use of the sat nav and why it's okay to do it, which is what she did before when I told her about the sat nav research. Was, I'm a different user, so actually this doesn't apply to me. It's very much justifying what she's already doing rather than this is interesting. This is interesting. Maybe this implicates me, and how would I better use these things? It's never about basically getting you information and changing how you use it. It's very much a no, I'm actually justified in using it.
Right.
So,
It's not broken, so I don't
yeah.
need to fix it, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's yeah.
Which I mean,
And it's an interesting experiment that you gave because it's like, I guess part of what you were testing there is something that I had claimed previously, which is that, well, the problem is it's coming from you. Like the problem is that you have these associations and these dynamics with her where by like you speaking or whatever, like she's
mhm,
gonna like respond in a certain way. And I guess you were kind of, I don't know if this was conscious enough, but I think you're kind of testing that, but being like, well, what happens if a set of arguments comes from someone else? Like what happens
mhm,
if, like, how does she engage with it? And it's interesting to hear that she doesn't delegitimize it as much. Like she's not as focused on being like, well, the whole thing is to like I was curious if she brought up the like sounds like he's anti-technology, sounds like you know what I mean? Like I wasn't sure if
mhm,
she brought up that because you said that's like what she brought up when you've previously raised this stuff is that it's like,
mhm,
oh, I thought you wanted to go in the technology field. I thought, you were pro, right? So it's like
mhm,
I'm curious what your reflections are on this. Like because I think not that I'm saying, oh, I'm still right, even though you showed that she doesn't engage with it. But I think
mhm,
like it does sound like she does engage with it maybe slightly differently if it's
mhm.
coming from someone else. I don't know. What do you think?
It could be slightly differently, or it could just be that I've had the conversation so many times, so she's more malleable in that way. Where when I have a
Okay.
conversation a bunch of times, she's much more willing to confront what I say. You know, we've had the nipples conversation multiple times, and she's much more. Wait, she's actually listening to what I'm saying, and then when
Okay.
she built upon what I said, which is just all I'm asking for, and she actually did that
Yes.
in one conversation. I'm going, oh, finally, it's okay. We're having a back and forth now. It's you said something, and then I go, okay, well, actually, here's imagine this hypothetical. What would you do in this situation? And go, okay, this is what okay, this is why I don't agree with this hypothetical. And I go, okay, well, really, you have a problem with this? Let me put my own perspective on this hypothetical, and then goes, oh, okay, that's interesting. Maybe there isn't so much of a problem here.
Mhm.
That where now we're actually having a conversation that's building upon something that was there before, rather than okay, we're sort of just talking past each other, which is what happens a lot. To where I say something and then she goes on a ramble, and I'm going, it's not. It's not. I don't care about your anecdote with my grandfather and and he's getting angry on the road. I have no idea what that has to do with the sat. It is really irrelevant. You're not building upon anything. You're just rambling about something, and then talking about your implications of this rather than even just a wider societal understanding of how these technologies are funneling people into scams or potentially um
Not realizing their husband's going to red light districts
exactly,
because it
yes.
says it doesn't fucking show that on the fucking map when you're using the fucking
Yeah, yeah,
and
that was some conversation
which
about
which that's really, I mean, that's all super fucking interesting because it's like when you're saying that you're not even getting like the validation, it's like I don't know, maybe I'm really not trying to be mean here. Like this, I
that.
hope this comes across the right way, but it's like she might just be a little slower to pick up. Like she might, because what you're describing about the rambling and talking about the anecdotes of, well, here's what happens and what it looks like when you don't have it, and I remember what before, like it's like she's trying to get her head around it, and I think maybe she's like slower to do so. And then when you're saying like the fact that she's caught, like you have to do like the same conversation multiple times, that
Mhm.
probably kind of adds to that she's like slower with this stuff. But then also that um that like when it's a regular topic of conversation, she's able to understand that this isn't about, it's like when you're like 10 and you're
Mhm.
asking, you're like, so what do you do if like for example like someone like took your iPod? Like she's obviously thinking someone took his iPod, right? Like some, like she's not thinking this is a hypothetical, she's thinking someone took his iPod. But like if she
Yes.
doesn't get out of that mode, then it's like if you bring it up multiple times, it's like, no, I'm not asking for advice secretly on a real thing. I'm
Yes.
talking about a in general. So it's like you have to get her out of that mode,
Yes. This
right?
is
Of like,
exactly what happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so it's like the uptake is slower, but then also the like she has to like figure out that she's not having to read between the lines and mom you.
Mhm.
She's engaging with like another adult who has like thoughts and reflections about the world that like actually are interesting when she takes them seriously rather than trying to read between the lines and figure out what you really mean, you know?
Uh-huh.
And, like that must be so frustrating with it. With it's like if she's slower to kind of get this,
Mhm.
like in general, get topics in general, and then also trying to read between the lines and figure out what you really mean. That's gonna
Mhm.
be so hard to like have your point being engaged with for like
Mhm.
a while. It's gonna feel real like you're banging your head up against the wall for, right. Like
100%, yeah.
I mean, wait, so I'd love to hear what you think about that. Like how maybe like do you think knowing it about it in this way, like thinking about it in this way, like could have strategies for like making it easier to engage with, like you like prefacing it being like, I'm just, this is a in general thing, this is but like because my worry is like if you did that, she might be like, oh, it definitely is
Yeah.
a covert question by you saying that, like the
Mhm.
guilty knowledge. Like I try to do this thing where I'll be like, I'll make jokes of like uh it would be fucked up if I did this, like I'll
Yeah,
make a
yeah, I
joke
know
like,
about
oh, I'm
that,
gonna do
yeah.
this. But
Mhm.
yeah, the point is to, so everyone knows that someone could do this, we're all paying attention to someone do this in case it goes wrong, like, but
Mhm.
it's like, and then it's like, oh, I get punished for thinking of it as if that means I'm gonna do it. But no, I've thought about like a bunch of things, like right. So
Mhm.
like I'm sharing this one because I don't want anyone to do it, including me, right? It's not a guilty thing, but then it's like I get punished for that. So it's like,
Yes.
damn, I don't know. Like I don't know. What do you think? Like
Um,
about
I,
her adopting strategies to kind of like speed up the process at least of her understanding this isn't like a secret
I
advice
think
question. This
I think this partly exists in her where I will say a statement and it's already, oh wow, I need, so I'll say, oh, I need this, and then she'll go, well, I'm not going there now. I'm going, what the fuck? I for me, I'm very literal when I speak, and so I mean what I say. I have to say this to her. I don't say I didn't say get this now. I say I need this.
like
This is
as a
something that I'm
general concept. Yeah.
as a general thing. It's like
Yeah.
I need this, isn't I need to cook with this later, and so I'm announcing it. So if she does go shopping, she'll remember that to get it. But I'm not saying to get it now. Um, and so she very much, basically every statement that I ever say, she reads way more into what I'm saying than I actually am. Where I speak very literal, and so yeah, she often does do that. Where I said she was saying, oh you should go work at this place. There's lots of people your age, and I'm going, I'm skeptical because I really doubt, because she's that older person that is obsessed with me getting in-person friends, and so I'm saying, oh, I doubt that I'm gonna meet people that I really jive with in person. I just
Right.
really it. it's so different talking to the internet, talking on the internet, and then you can just make a hyper specific reference, and then somebody going, yes, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know that
Right.
weird hallway thing that isn't actually.
Right,
I
right.
know exactly what you're talking about. Um, that just doesn't. Apart from by the way, I felt the second interview, but the guy that interviewed me, I told you about this guy. This guy is
Yeah.
just we were on a crazy level of you just never find people like this, right? We're just on a crazy level of chemistry of just, oh, you know that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's so weird. It's just so weird meeting people where I can just make all these references and you just go, yep, smile, like you're just smiling because I'm covertly making them and he's just picking up on everything I'm saying, and so there's something very, very much, it's oh wow, we have a citizenship to the same nation, to the same assortment of nations actually, or sub communities that I guess would be on sort of like geeky internet culture, citizenship thing. Anyway, I was saying, oh, okay, probably I'm not gonna meet people that I super jive with on that level, in
Me too.
person. Um, but when I said that, she was saying that no, 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 you can't have these. She was basically reading that as, oh, I said that I'm not gonna go. I've already made the judgment because because I have a perception of I'm not gonna find somebody that I'm actually not gonna go. And I'm going, no, that's not what I said. I said I don't think I'm gonna find someone. That isn't stopping me from engaging in the action because I don't operate like that. I don't operate on
Right.
because I think something is gonna happen. This is even though I have, somewhat of a confidence in it, I know that as a 24-year-old, I don't know everything that can happen. And it is, I never thought I would have a job interview like that. I know things are going to happen. Things are not, you can look at statistics and go, oh, this is the chance of it. That's not how life works. Life works
Of course not. No.
on a completely different level. So I know that I'm just going to be wrong, and I can never know unless I try these things. And so that's what I operate on. That's my philosophy. And yet, especially coming from the gaming field where you actually do have to try hit the box as many times as you want to give yourself the biggest odds of getting them
Yeah.
off, of course. Yeah, that's how it works, right? And so she's reading that as, oh, you're not gonna do this because you have an assumption that you're not gonna meet someone. And I go, I never said that. I never said that I wasn't gonna do it. Wouldn't engage in these behaviors because I don't think I'm gonna find a friend. I'm just saying I don't think I'm gonna find a friend, regardless if I engage in this action. And so she does read so much into what I say, and it's very annoying because she will get upset about the things I say because she interprets it in a way, and I'm thinking, is that maybe the people that she's talking to where she has to read between the lines because where somebody will go, oh, can you mop the floor for me? Maybe they'll just go, oh, the floor is dirty, and then she now needs to interpret that as, okay, well, I now need to mop the floor. maybe
Right.
it
Right. I see
maybe
what you're
it's
saying.
on that level, of that's why she's reading into the things that I say on that level.
Well, it's definitely also the mom thing, right? It's like she's looking at you as like her kid to like guide and help in the world, and she's thinking like, well, what would it imply about his ability to navigate the world if he isn't doing it this way or seeing things this way, right? Like
Hmm.
it's like she's trying, it's like almost a protective thing. Like it
Hmm.
honestly sounds like your mom is very protective of you in like a way that's not productive for who you like, how you are and how you operate, honestly. Like it's like, especially with the kind of, I don't know, I was thinking like with, I don't know her as a person, I just know what you said about her, but
Hmm.
especially the, covering your eyes stuff, the anti-nudity stuff, like that
Hmm.
comes into play, has to come into play with the conversation about the nipples thing. Like
Hmm.
she's, almost seeing you like pushing beyond like what she even finds acceptable of like, she's like, well, like imagining like, I don't want my grandkids around a woman who's just topless all the time.
Hmm.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like not that that's literally a thought of hers, but
Uh-huh.
that's the kind of thought that I think would be more unique to how she's navigating you rather than just like the average person commenting on like, oh, your car is kind of dirt, or oh man, when's the last time you got a car wash, right?
Hmm.
Like or like less obvious, you're just bragging about their car wash, and she's like, fuck, I gotta get my car washed. Like those, like that's, I think your case is more specific, where it's like she's also thinking about the implications. I think um in a way that's not productive for what you're trying to do. But
Hmm.
I think I can see why she would maybe. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I'm being too generous with the kind of that level of the interpretation? Where she's like,
I, I would have to interact with her more and then see it from that lens, because I see it from the lens of very much, I see her more as a of an affected manners person, where um I think she would particularly be susceptible to somebody saying, oh, you know, yeah, I just had my car washed, and that means, oh, I need to go and get my car. Which I see her being very what do you call it, not amiable, but malleable to the amenable, I think that's the word, amenable to
Like the social pressures.
yeah, to the social pressures, where you know, I was going to the airport, and you know, I had just my what do you call it, I was just wearing my joggers, wearing something comfortable for the flight, and there was a rip, and I go, I couldn't care less. I don't even know, I'm gonna meet these people
Right.
once in my life. I couldn't give a fuck who these people are. I really couldn't. And so I'm not gonna present myself in a way that matters to randoms. But that's something, that's her first thought of, oh, you're going on this plane, and okay, well, there are rips in your things, this is not the way you should present. So she's very much worried about that, in terms of that probably is something that weighs upon her more so
But
than it does for
probably
me.
wouldn't if you were not her kid, I think. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
like I'm the same way. Like, if it's like, oh, you got some shit on your shirt, you probably should change shirts. Like, that's the kind of thing my parents tell me, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay, like I don't care. Like, I just do it because they think it's a good
Mhm.
idea. I'm like, all right. But like to me, it's like if I don't have that conversation,
Uh-huh.
I'm going out. Like, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like I'm not adopting that as like a fundamental principle of who I am. I am,
Mhm.
but I am like, oh, like, yeah, I probably like if there's certain situations I'm like, I probably shouldn't show up to like see my sister's boyfriend's family with like looking kind of funky. Like I want, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
this is gonna have implications. So it's like that thought process,
Mhm.
as you're saying, like that's legitimate. But your point is like this is like contextually, I'm on a random plane. Like I don't care. Like most people
Mhm.
are wearing
Yes.
sweatpants and like with bringing a baby that are crying. Like like I'm
Mhm.
not the fucking problem here, right? Like
Yes. Of
so
course. Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I think the
So.
kid dynamic comes in. I don't know. I
Mhm.
think maybe I don't know how much you've talked to her about you having autism, but like I think the literalness of it, like that might be something that is worth kind of just mentioning. Is like, hey, like I'm being very literal right now. Like you don't need to read
Mhm.
between the lines because I like if you as you know, like I am, you know, I got a fucking different way of approaching things than some people. Like and I resonate with the way you do because ADHD and autism are like so on the same spectrum, but like they're
Mhm.
literally like the same often. But like so it's like I'm very literal in that way too. My mom is actually very literal too, in a way
Uh-huh.
that's very helpful for me. But I think that, and I think if she was trying to constantly read between the lines with me,
Uh-huh.
like that would be super difficult to have a conversation with that person. Like super difficult. Like
Mhm.
I feel like I'm being judged. It's like she's feeling like she's being judged all the time, and she's like projecting that judgment onto you in a way
Mhm.
where you're like, okay, I need to make sure that you're even hearing what I'm saying because it doesn't sound like you are. Like it's like you're trying to
Mhm.
address this on a level that like I'm not even there. I'm like so far from there, and like
Mhm.
you're missing like completely what I'm saying as a result. You know, like just like level setting. I don't know if you understand, like you know what I mean by that, but like level
No.
setting with her of like in certain
Level one.
conversations, um yeah, if you look up like level setting in a conversation, like that's like
Mhm.
a strategy that you can do to like get on like getting on the same page of like where you're coming at it with it. It's like I think that would lean into your strengths of being literal in that way and direct. It's like it's direct of you to just say this is the level I'm operating on, and then
Mhm.
like I think doing that several times, like
Mhm.
that could be something because I'm thinking like how like what's the next move? Like it's not just gonna stop being your mom or being in your life, right? So like
Mhm.
what's the
Yes.
next move now that I'm seeing just how frustrating it is to engage with her on anything? Even like
Mhm.
and like the implications of the how much I use GPS thing is so small. Like
Mhm.
if she's going into defense mode on that, like God,
Mhm.
like
Yes.
everything it must be.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of things for sure. But I don't think that can't entirely be the thing, because the drug talk she was, to me, that was one of the craziest ones I've had, where it's it's she summoned stepdad in I was gonna say in the course if it was in Discord.
Summoned,
She
summoned is
summoned him saying,
yeah, yeah.
honey, tell your opinions on this. And then just I end up just spectating, because she just
Right.
says something that is so obviously ridiculous, where she's talking about LSD, and she goes, yeah, I just saw this, and then she describes the symptoms of, you know, being super drunk and just collapsing, and I'm going, that sounds like alcohol. And she said, no, it's like super different, it looks super different. And I'm going, do you know what the dosage was? And she goes, that doesn't matter. And then my stepdad's face, you should have seen my stepdad's face. Because it's so, it's just one of the stupidest things, because she just kept going on that point. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Which is so funny, because it's like, okay, doctor, like this, you know what I mean? Like, it's so fucking funny. The dosage doesn't matter for any of these things. It's like, right, for sure.
Yes,
I'm
sure.
What do you like? This doesn't even apply to like chocolate. Like what you're talking about doesn't even, like, you're a mom, like, you know that if the kid's having a fucking full ass chocolate bar, that's way different than like the kid having a bite of chocolate before bed. Like, how is the dosage doesn't matter? Like, it's so insane on so many levels. Like his face must have like cringed so hard. It must have been like, ah, it must have been, like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like confusion, but also like, like, damn, like. But I can see why he's then trying to be like, you have to understand where she's growing up. You have to understand like her, like him trying. I think he's trying to like, again, like be a diplomat in that situation. And I can see why he did that. I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I don't know if it was that specific conversation, but actually maybe it was. But it didn't happen at the same specific time. It happened in a different interval.
In general.
And so yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully I wasn't misquoting you on that. But when she was saying like, oh, from Slovakia, she's
no, you exactly
Russia,
said that.
Yeah. Like I think that's like he was trying to like give like larger context and like make like a, and I think that's what, you know, because again, like this, it's very therapist brained to do this, but it's like I'm also thinking of the level of like, well, what would it imply for you to have the type of relationship with a person who's going to be in your life forever, practically, where you don't have an ability to communicate or feel heard by them. Like that just doesn't sound sustainable. Like that sounds like something that regardless just needs to be addressed in some way. And I'm just trying to think about like, well, what would that be for you where like you actually fucking get hurt? Because honestly, it's a very solvable problem. And that like, okay, like again, and this is the problem of like, if she's slow, like slow brained, like
that's
problematic.
What I say.
That's problematic. That's like that's tough. Like I don't know. What do you think? Is that because it's like, I mean, you're not, and she's your biological mother, and like usually this stuff does have a genetic component.
Yeah,
so
of course,
it would surprise me if she's like just missing half her fucking like a hemisphere. Like
this is exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, how am I the way that I am, and I'm just completely entirely different when this stuff is heritable. How the fuck? Because I don't know who. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck my dad does or anything. I've never cared enough to ask, and so that's the only time I've gotten curious. Wait, who the fuck is this guy? Because you're compensating for a lot. There's a lot of compensation that's happening here. Not to say what you call it, mindset isn't super important here in terms of the way conversations are happening, but I do think that probably is just a little bit slower in terms of immediate defensiveness, and not really understanding the full thing, not having a full understanding of what I'm trying to say, and having to repeat a bunch of times. Some of that is obviously due to ego, but I think other times I'm just thinking, how are you not understanding what I'm saying? It's so obvious what I'm trying to say.
Because there's limits to the ego thing. There's limits to the ego explanation, I think, or the mom-kid relationship explanation, from what I'm hearing. Like there are limits to that, where it's like, oh man, it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like she's getting like 30% of it, and then getting concerned of like how she's going to be judged for that, and then looping on that 30%.
100%. Oh yeah,
while also just defending. Yeah.
I don't.
I'm not trying to reduce it. I'm just trying to like get like what I'm hearing, so like we can go back and forth on the like what it is, like what's going on here.
No, that's exactly what I think. Where it's the understanding, she's only understanding a portion of what I'm saying, and then it's the looping and defensiveness, and being how she's perceived very much is playing so much of a factor. And I'm just going, I don't care about the perception of your capacity of using the GPS or whatever. And I noticed that the perception, now maybe it is just because I'm her kid, but I'm thinking, wow, you have a hole in. I'm talking about, this is an insignificant hole where I'm going so irrelevant. It's such an irrelevant toll. I'm thinking, this is, I get it. I get the explanation that you use, but for me, it's someone where I see them employing effective manners at the table. I told you about the my stepdad's aunt and uncle, and then them not wanting alcohol, and then her not saying
Yes.
anything, even though we came off of a drug talk earlier in the day, and I'm going, how are you not saying anything when they're clearly being pressured to drink alcohol, which is a drug, that they don't want to drink, and they're clearly uncomfortable. And eventually my aunt, which is not the Germans, my aunt is the one that's trying to introduce them into alcohol. She eventually pours them a glass even though they said no, and then they never drink the glass. which is I thought was really funny. And I'm thinking, how the fuck are you not saying anything about this? How is this not the most uncomfortable thing ever, where the consent is clearly being violated here? They're clearly people that, depending on who the person is in what situation, I change a lot on how I would treat the scenario, but they're very much quiet. They're not going to be, if you're talking, you have to introduce them to the table. Otherwise, they're not going to talk. They're not going to interrupt your conversation. And so those are people that you need to stick up for. I understand that. Otherwise, they can get steamrolled and it's not going to be a fun conversation for them. And so for me, I'm being attentive to those things, and seeing the sort of effective manners of the manners in, our society is that, drinking doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. It's not that big of a deal.
Have a good time. Means you have a good time.
Right. No, she's not on that level because she doesn't drink. She's not a drinker.
Okay.
Gotcha. But she very much lives in a society where people do that. And maybe she doesn't, fully approve of it. But she very much doesn't see alcohol in the same vein as any other drug. So,
wait, pause quick. I need to get something real quick. I'll be back in a second.
Go.
I just, yes. 1 second. I'm back. Okay. Like, but then it's like, okay, she's like, it's like what you were saying earlier about the this just like I think this is so dead on. It's like you're saying earlier about how you can't argue against the milestone thing as indicative of like a person's like a quality of existence. Like if you're arguing about like how life is lived, it's like the common sense doesn't allow you a range of opinion where you can express that. That sounds like what she's experiencing with like a lot of things. It feels like she's so attuned to like what's expected of her that like her range of what she can imagine expressing is like limited, like across the board. Whereas like that's like, oh, that's a problem you run into on like a certain set of larger topics where the common sense is so against you and so kind of difficult to kind of grasp for most people, that it's like not worth going down that avenue, and instead just kind of, well, I don't know, like poking on the edges. But like for her, it sounds like that's like for like a lot of things, for like most things, it sounds like. I don't know. What do you think? Like,
yeah, hive mind. I see her as the one of my.
But I mean,
when I think
in that example, you fall for it too. You fall for it too sometimes. Like I'm saying, like it's not like it's a. Do you know what I mean? Like we all do, I think. Like where it's like you can't argue against like certain things. Like again, like if I was constantly being like, you eat meat to like everybody, like it's just not practical. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it's just not practical. So like I don't know. Like what do you think?
Yeah. I think the thing is, if I'm close enough to a person, I'm definitely a lot more, we'll just argue about, not even argument, but I will propose, okay, what do you think about this? Been having these thoughts about these particular things. I'm a little bit skeptical about the narrative here, right? It's that she's not even willing to even engage in that, where, okay, let's explore this. Where is this coming from? Why are you thinking about this? EXE will bring up things that he brought up some crazy things in terms of crazy interpretations, and I'm thinking, well, this is kind of saying it was Attack on Titan, right? And he was talking about Zeke, and he was talking. So his plan, at least from as far as I watched up until, it was to sterilize all the Eldians, right?
Yes.
That was his plan, and so he was saying Zeke was misunderstood, and that his plan was, he had a solid plan. I like this plan, and I'm going, okay, that's I didn't want to bash. I just said, okay, just say your opinion. I didn't challenge him. I wait until I challenge after I just get a better understanding, and so it just never got to the point where I challenged him. Or definitely being at the back of my head, because I'm thinking, whoa, I'm just thinking of just more knowing history of now my 20th century history sucks, but just knowing that happened, and that entire societies that were seen as, okay, well, these now completely different contexts, they're not Titan shifters, but seeing these societies that are sort of deemed as or portions of societies that are seen as unhelpful to the greater society, they're being sterilized, or just other policies that are stopping them from reproducing. I think these are really disgusting and awful. And so 100%. Him expressing favoritism to Zeke's plan, it was a little bit okay.
Very much terrifying. Very much terrifying.
Yeah, it was very scary. And now I'm fine with people expressing, I like that.
But here you go, judging the implications of a person and making it personal for just having a belief in a perspective. There you go, having opinions about the way a person is and who they are based on what they have to say.
No, and this is why I don't immediately go, whoa, that's really fucked up. Do you know what happened in history? It's okay. Exactly. I'm just gonna let that go, and depending on if I have more, if you say something along the lines of, I'll bring, oh, you said this before, you want to unpack this. This is how I always operate with EXE, because I know that for him, that's why I learned being a little bit more cautious in conversations, because he is somebody that has been put down for particular interests that he has, and it's really destroyed his ability to even interact with people that he's not familiar with, because he can't openly talk about his interests. And when he's in that mode where he's very much, he has me in his head, and thinking, how are people going to judge me if I, nobody knew that he liked anime, and the particular sort of anime adjacent games like Osu, no one knew that in real life. And so that's really sad, because you're always going to feel like you're not even in a coffin, you're in a fucking, you're under the Mount Everest. You're under the Himalayas.
You're in a fucking panopticon.
What's a panopticon?
The fucking prison where everyone's being.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's like you're self-induced panopticon, right? Yeah.
Self-induced. Yeah. So the great other is very much it is present to a completely different degree than it would be, let's say, versus me. And so, I'm very much aware of, I'm not gonna beat somebody down, and also I'm not gonna appeal to the hive mind of, oh, it was really fucked up in history what happened. Now let me actually just take the implication on, it's okay, in context of Attack on Titan, where these guys are being Titan shifters, let's actually talk about let's actually build this out. To me, that's just more interesting to talk about, because we can talk about it through the abstraction of anime, because it's not real life, and so there are no actual people that we're talking about that are being implicated here, at least directly. But it is something that, okay, let's talk about it. Let's actually, think of let's actually think this through. I think that's just more of an environment that I would like to foster. That's why I waited. That's why I didn't go, well, that was fucked up for you to say. I'm just gonna let
Right.
that go. I'm just gonna let that go,
Right.
and then bring that up again. Yeah, sometimes somebody will say something, especially with the. I'm more like this with the XE. For other people, I'll go, oh, let's talk about that. That was. I have some thoughts on this. For him, it's just I'll let him say something and then go, okay, let's just continue the conversation on. And then if it comes up again, I'll go, okay, I noticed that you brought this up and that, you know, this is a reoccurring thought. Let's actually tackle this. Because now that he's brought it up for the first time, he's a little bit more comfortable because I let that go. I didn't start bashing him. If I immediately started, or even started picking up on something immediately, I think that would be a little bit more, oh, okay, whoa, this is, you know, this is clearly, you know, a spot that this person, you know, maybe I slipped up a bit or something. I don't know, but some feelings of shame or something. If I let that go and then bring it up again in a relevant matter, it's more of, okay, this guy let me say something and didn't attack me for it, so now I feel more comfortable. That's what I'm trying to induce in him, as somebody that, as he is not particularly comfortable with sharing these things, and I wouldn't want to kill that in our in the relationship that we had, and so I'm very careful with that. But you see how I'm very much not on the hive mind thinking in terms of.
No.
I'm not attacking him for having opinions that I definitely that it freaked me out. Hearing that, I'm thinking, no,
yeah.
this
Well,
is
part of what's
crazy.
freaky there, I think, in an interesting way, is like it's like, wow, I can see how this happened in the past.
Mhm,
You know, like I can see how people who are malleable can
mhm,
be misled on what's needed to make society better.
mhm.
You know, like
Yes,
that's part of what scares me, is like, oh shit,
of
that's
course.
right, this happened and it was
Mhm,
real, and like most fucking scientists in the 20s and 30s were eugenicists, and it's like, fuck, like, you know what I mean, like the
mhm.
smart
Yes,
people were still, it's fucking scary, you know.
yes, and so.
Like, it's not about him. You're not like
Mhm,
scared for him or like what it says about,
mhm,
because you're like obviously we're both fucking, we're not like, making policy. We're not like fucking setting law,
mhm,
right? Like we're thinking out loud together. Like,
mhm.
right? It makes perfect
I,
sense to
I'm
me.
I'm thinking on the perspective of this guy is just sort of, this guy's not really in tune with these things, and yet he comes to this conclusion where you would think him as like, oh, you know, it's just the XE sort of, you know, soft-hearted kind of guy, or somebody that even thinks of himself in that way, and somebody in that way thinking these things. I'm thinking, whoa, that's. I'm thinking that it's scary for me to think somebody that thinks of themselves as like, oh, I'm a nice, empathetic
I'm a
person,
liberal. Yeah.
which is
Like
something
I'm
that
very,
he
yeah.
says about himself. It's like, oh yeah, I'm quite, you know, empathetic. For me, I'm going, whoa, this is dangerous for somebody to feel self-righteous about something, self-righteous in the same vein, thinking the same thing. It's kind of sad. So, I definitely,
But you're not, again, you're not like like the thing that you care about in like a relationship is more like, well, how did the person treat me? Like how does the, in
mm,
like the larger sense of interaction, it's like this one conversation will have more and we'll both learn together, and it's not a permanent, you know what I
exactly.
mean? You're not like, fuck this guy for
Mhm,
not immediately making the connection between this like abstract story
of
anime
course.
and this like larger politics of eugenics. Like it's like there's so much potential there for clarification and for introspection. Like that's why
Hmm.
it's not worth writing off. Where like, for example, Orbic was explaining to me why he's like pissed about like at Paul,
Hmm.
and he doesn't like talking to that guy anymore. He's like, this guy's
Hmm.
so fucking annoying. And there, because what was happening is they were talking about this like in a Discord call. People were talking about like what shows they were watching, and
Hmm.
Paul was talking about Dexter, and so they, they were asking Orbic like what he was watching, and Orbic was talking about how he's like, oh, I'm watching like like a documentary series about Mussolini. And Paul immediately goes,
Hmm.
"Oh, Mussolini is so fucking cool, dude." And Orbic's like, "Fuck this guy, dude. Fuck this guy." You know what I mean? Like he's like, "No fucking way." Well, because it's like, first off, like that was not what the documentary is about, as you can imagine, is how cool
Hmm.
Mussolini is. It
Yes.
definitely is not about how cool.
Hmm.
But also, it's like it just showed like this guy is a fucking TikTok brained like Mussolini aura edit like retard
Oh.
like a lot of the time.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
like worth like it's like that actually is like representative of like a larger um pattern with this guy, you know what I mean? So it's like I think there are moments like that where you can actually write a person off where you're like, no, there's no
Hmm.
redeeming like
That
this
reminded
like
me of
type of
something.
reaction to what?
That reminded me when you were talking to, you were typing in, who's that guy's Oscar artist chat to this why
Oh yeah.
not guy talk, and he's talking
Oh
about
god.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
He's such a retard, dude.
What's
Franco. We're
that?
talking about Franco.
Franco, yes.
Dude, fucking retard, dude. That guy fucking. And he lives in Spain, dude. He's
Yes.
walking by places with memorials to the bombing that Franco, like, to people he knows. Like, it's not even an immigrant. It's like, what the fuck is this guy? Dude,
Yeah.
yeah, you can write people off with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can. There
Hmm.
are times where it's like, yeah, okay, this does imply some shit about this person, how they see the world,
Hmm.
and like, it's not worth talking to them regularly.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
but also, I will say, like, I don't know if you know this or not. Like, I've maintained, like, I'd say even more so than with Calvin,
Hmm.
pretty decent correspondence with Dank.
Hmm.
Even though like neither of us in Zoo, not like we're not even really in service together. I'm just talking about stuff, and like
Yeah.
part of why is that okay, yeah, he has a lot of opinions like about gay people and shit that like you would think I would write him off. Part of
Hmm.
what's like I see him as someone who genuinely gives a shit about the stuff that he's like
Yeah.
saying. Like but
Hmm.
and like it's like a real thing. Like he has beliefs that are real and important
Hmm.
to him. And like we do line up on some shit, even if generally, even if it's not specific.
Uh,
And I've had thoughts about it. I'm like that like, I like this guy because it's like it doesn't feel like when he's saying something, it's like performative or fake or like bait or
yes,
something. It's like
that's
he's,
exactly why. There is
there's like a
there is
genuineness.
there is a certain genuineness of somebody that can have the whole server disagreeing with him on particular issues.
Yeah.
He's just saying
And it's
it,
just
and I'm
going
going,
forward.
yes, that's
And then not being like, oh well, no guys, don't fucking no, you don't understand. I didn't when I said that I didn't mean like he's like, no,
he
like
doesn't care
I'm
about the
saying,
approval. That's
yeah,
big
which I
respect.
like. And he messaged me being like, he messaged me. I thought it was so sweet. He messaged me on Thanksgiving, and
Yeah,
he said this to me, and I was like, dude, like, I was like, dude, I love this. I'm like that's
that's crazy. To me,
I don't know.
I
He meant,
think as considering you as the category that you exist in and his
yeah,
particular beliefs and the fact that he can still be
on really good terms. Yeah, talking like like at least once a week,
yes.
like sending each other at least one thing a week, kind of for months. And so it's like, yeah, like and like I don't know. Like he's trying to tell me about stuff that about like the kind of arguing that problems with the Bible are due to Jewish translation and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know anything about this. Like this isn't like something we could talk about really. Like I don't fucking know. Like he's like, no, you gotta look in the Rothschild Bible. But then I will say, like, when uh in the Epstein emails, it was
Hmm.
shown that he was really close to this Rene de Rothschild, who's like the kind of baron of the Rothschild Empire currently.
Hmm.
I did send that his way. I'm like, speaking of Rothschild, check out the modern
Hmm.
non-Jewish operating Bible thing. Like the fucking currently they have money and shit and they fund shit type thing of them. Like, yeah, like
uh,
they aren't like just because he has a crazy set of theories about them. And by crazy, I don't mean like I just mean like they should come off instantly as like you're blaming the Jews for the Bible. Like, what are you
hmm.
talking about right now? Like this, but it's like I know he believes it, and I know when he says something to me, it's not just to like get a reaction out of me or something. And so like I give him, I'm willing to give him grace and credit because of that,
Hmm.
like genuinely.
Yeah.
Whereas like why not? I'm like fuck this guy instantly.
Hmm.
Like
Plus, I actually
so
don't know anything about this why or not person. I don't
I know a
know.
little bit about him from like Orbic and those people. Like so like I'm like fuck
Oh,
this guy. Like he's
oh,
not worth talking to. He's like
what?
he's just like an actual fastest shit poster, and he'll like
Oh,
lie about it to like get people not to talk about it, but like he's just like basically a Nazi like full on. So it's like
oh,
and to me there's something very cowardly of like okay, well at least wear the fucking swastika. You know what I'm saying? Like at least like
uh,
I don't know. If you're gonna be saying this shit, like don't try to back off. Be like, no, I'm just making a specific critique of a type of immigrant who's coming from a place that's dangerous in Africa. Not all Africa, and then behind the scenes in Spanish, you're posting like fuck, n words and fuck these mongoloids and stuff. It's like I know what you're doing. You're a bad faith actor. You're not being honest, right? And like I think that's I don't know. To me, that's so key. Is like you can honestly disagree, but it's like I need to think that the person like gives a shit. You know?
hmm. Wow. I did not know about this guy because I know about this guy, and this guy's always so cordial to me, and I'm thinking it's real funny because I wonder if he knew about my background, both of my parents being migrants. Yeah, it's like I wonder how that would change. And to me, there's something I always think about my childhood when a lot of these things just didn't exist in my conception, and I
Sure.
don't know how much these things existed in my friend's conception. I'm thinking, wow, the world was just so cool back then, where we just kind of, and that's why I kind of like the internet, where we actually have, we don't know. I mean, we can kind of judge from voices, but there's still going to be a guessing factor there, especially if people just only type it in text chat. And so when you sort of get acquainted with somebody, and I wonder if that's what's happening with you and Dan, because Dan is from, his family's from Arkansas, and he lives, I don't know if he's still in Arkansas now, but he went to school in Indiana.
Yeah.
And so for him to, it's how likely is he gonna meet somebody that's openly gay? Well, on the internet, is that you're in a place where social capital is no longer judged by, I guess, like abstractions of, Christian values from the Bible, which,
Bible.
I don't think that from the quote unquote Bible,
Biblia.
which I don't even really think they don't. For at least the little that I know. To be fair, I don't know too much about the Bible. They don't seem very Christian consistent to me. Exactly. And so those values, you're not gonna if you existed in person in as you are, you wouldn't be viewed highly, but you're in zombies where your skills being recognized, and so he's forced to interact with somebody like you and even respect you because he does respect the game and the skill it takes to play the game.
Not fucking around. Yeah.
And so I think that's so cool about the internet, is that there is a different value system, and it's funny now looking back at, it's like, oh, these are the people who I respected. It's funny because also these are the people that wouldn't be traditionally respected within let's say normie culture. They wouldn't have the particular fashion sense and everything, but they're we held so much value on on what these people said and did, and I think that's cool. I think I do enjoy that, because it allows a different sort of person to thrive. It allows you to talk to different people that would be disrespected in whatever society that you were born in and came from. And that's really cool. I like the internet for that.
Oh, I fuck with it so much, dude. Like that, it really is the power of the internet. Like the ability to interact with people in like a level playing field where you're like, oh yeah, like this. We both know, we're both like already knowing and like respecting each other from this. Then it's like, yeah, I can do this extra thing. But it's like, I think that he he cares about what, like, I think it's like, I don't know. Some people, it's like like a fashion or a trend, what they think and say. And like his is too, like he follows predictable paths of belief of like the right wing chud, but he still cares beyond just like the immediate how fashion or trendy it is. Like he gives a shit of like longer things of like, and he seems to really think that living more along the lines of the Bible creates like a better society. Like he really does believe that like it's a better world if we, do you know what I mean? So it's like, I respect that goal as well. It's not just that like I respect his honesty, but I also like respect where he's coming from, even if I think he's like been misled and like down the wrong path of like who's to blame for certain things. Like I think he is looking for blame, and I think he sees problems in ways that I like resonate with, and I'm like, yeah, that is fucked, but it's like I don't think that the cause of it is the same, but it's like I can engage with a person who at least understands there's problems, whereas like a person who's just like, yeah, what is with that, that's fucked, like I'm like, I don't know, dude. It doesn't sound like you give a shit even to formulate a question. Like I don't know, like yeah, I was gonna ask because by the way, I gotta go see my grandpa at the hospital in like 20 minutes, but then I'll be back home. We can, if you're still on, I'm down to talk. But,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'll be on. I'll be on for a while.
Okay, that's matter. I was gonna ask like about like what your situation is with the EXE currently, because
I haven't talked to him.
Not sure if
That's it.
Okay.
Oh, so wait, so what are you gonna say?
Or has he messaged you at all?
He messaged me twice, but this is coming up for a while now. Wait, hold on, let me check my DMs with him. He messaged me last time on the 15th of last month.
Of November?
Yeah, of November. But I didn't respond, so it's on my ballpark. The ball is in my court to respond. So yeah, he hasn't messaged me since then. And what you call it? I've felt. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty hard. By the just reevaluating the friendship, and also I've been friends with him for a while, and just seeing the behaviors happen constantly is really it makes me think. I think the craziest part was sort of me telling my issues with Zoo, and then him sort of saying the I don't care about
Well, what am I
apologies. So
like?
him saying. Him saying so, it's like, I don't care about that. Let's see where the behavior goes, and immediately him going, him talking about the plot against Frenzy and Galactic. I think that was, to me, that was, did you not understand anything that I said?
Right.
And my issues with the particular friend group and why I don't want to engage in it anymore. And seeing the sort of the behaviors of, not only is he not understanding, he's clearly not integrating what I care about in a friend group, but also in a friend where he's not even getting
Taking it on himself. Yeah, himself as in that moment, or yeah.
not integrating my not only the particulars. I was going to say, I lost track. I was looking at an aubergine. It was it was the thing that he said where he was saying, oh, imagine, because he couldn't actually think of a real situation of somebody being separated from Zeus, so he used himself as a hypothetical. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is happening? What is happening? This is crazy. I can't believe this. That's not just a lack of integration of like, oh, you're a little bit slow. This is just, that's that's on the level of, okay, maybe we can never be friends on the level that we were before, because clearly I will say things and you're not caring to integrate them at all, and you're not even noticing that, hey, I'm a little bit dejected here. I do feel dejected here. I'm a little bit just shocked. This is why I'm barely responding, by the way, to what you're saying. I'm genuinely blown aback. So I will message him eventually, but I do have that sort of paralysis of don't even know if so I'll message him and then go, it's like, okay, what's gonna happen now? Am I gonna be, chum with him? I don't see that.
Right.
Maybe we'll talk once in a while, but I don't see that happening. So I have that paralysis of I definitely would want eventually to let him know, because I know that he's been spurned by people, and then not understanding, okay, what the fuck happened here. I have no idea what happened here. And eventually, definitely just go. I think if I've been with friends with somebody long enough, even though this is like hardly, like the worst times to ever leave a friendship on. But even if it was on awful terms, um, in some ways, I would want that person to know, because even though the ending was bad, we had some good times, and
Yeah, yeah.
clearly I can, I still give a fuck about people, even though I don't talk to them. For sure, even decades, a decade later of not talking to a lot of my best friends, my two best friends. That's even over a decade now, of last talking to them, and I still give a fuck about them now. So of course I'm gonna be thinking about EXC, for a long time, because we talked to each other a lot, more than I've talked to most people. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, with your eventual message, I'm just curious, like, are you, because not that these are mutually exclusive goals,
uh,
but there is a difference between approaching it being like, because you're saying, oh, he's had people before, like, not, like, leave, and he's like, doesn't understand, which, side note,
mhm,
sidebar, interesting pattern. I think about how many friendships have ended. He's like, I don't even understand why that, I mean, that's like an interesting
mhm,
pattern to kind of reflect on in retrospect. But
mhm,
the, like, him, like, okay, well, that seems like very him focused. Like, you're focused on helping him understand what
mhm,
took place, probably for his benefit, so that in the future,
mhm,
there's, less of a sort of, but then there's also another angle of, well, what is, like, what would you like, what would benefit you most? Because sure, maybe it benefits him most to have like a reasonable and practical explanation of, like, attention and things like this, and that can still go into the second thing. But the second thing could also be a little more pointed and a little more of a pointed stick with what you're, when you're trying to poke, get it across what you're saying,
that's really funny that
like
you're thinking
you could
about it in
be
this
really
level.
kind of hitting him over the head with it in, like, a way that's more like satisfactory, like satisfactory for you in, like, an
Mhm,
emotional sense and, like, cathartic sense of, like, I need to fucking let this guy know. But, like,
mhm,
technically that also accomplishes the goal of, like,
yeah,
letting him know why this ended, right? But, like, those are different. It's, like, not the same to be
mhm,
like, aggressively pushing your emotional existence related to why this is happening versus being, like, cold and reasonable and, like,
mhm,
straightforward in, like, a almost a more reserved way, you know, like I don't know, what do you think?
That's most of my style, just being more cold and reserved. I don't, you know, I don't. Same with Tricky's. Me not talking to him isn't. This is a punishment. Immediately, it's, you know. Oh yeah, I don't want to talk to you, and I'm never not gonna message you, and fuck you. In the way of you know, I hope you understand. This is the level that I feel on. Is that I don't even want to message you after we talked for a while. Like, this is on the level of I'm showing you in that way, but to me, it's not sad. To me, my satisfaction of ignoring his two messages, like, I've already had that. I don't. To me, there is no satisfaction of, you know, really letting them have it. It's oh, this is unsatisfying. I don't like hurting people, especially when
Yeah, of course, your friend. I mean, like, right?
exactly
Like, fundamentally,
that's
like,
so.
right? Yeah.
So of course, you just let him know in the most concise way. I don't even like messaging people this. That's why I haven't even messaged him. Usually it's just like, okay, we just happen to be in the call. Okay, I'm just gonna tell. No, I don't message people. That's
Yeah,
why,
me either. I'm not.
especially on this on in this sort of society where that is more expected. I think we talked about this. I think we both talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this before in terms of expectations of you know, a romantic relationship where yeah, I think I would go insane having to message somebody multiple times throughout the day just because I like hearing somebody's voice and talking about it because it's a much more nuanced and natural conversation rather than um typing something out and then learning the meta game of how to message somebody properly and how to use corporate mandated or corporate approved ways of expressing yourself, aka
Yeah.
emojis. What the fuck? I don't
Yeah,
use any
yeah,
of this stuff.
yeah. That's it. Emojis are a quick way to give a quick react. But I know what you're saying.
Oh yeah, the
What?
reaction thing is fine because that's Discord culture. That's not some. At
Oh, that's
least
Discord
as far
culture.
as I
Okay.
know.
Oh, like
That's
the spelling out, like, "Hey, smiley face, what's up?" To yeah, like that kind of like constant affirming of each sentence as if you didn't read it, but with an emoji. Like that's a
mhm,
yeah, I know what you're talking about with that. But like that's a very mature way to look at it, where it's like, yeah, I mean, he's still your friend in a way where you would gain no validation in like letting him, like, you know, getting it, but like you could also say, playing devil's advocate, that a more emotionally charged explanation could resonate more with him and
mhm,
communicate to him more the depth of your feeling. Like, you
mhm,
also could say that it's not just like an effective way to get this across would be to say that you've been hurt and that this is you know, like, do you know what I mean? Like
mhm.
that there's a like being more like, I don't know, what do you think about that? Like,
Yeah, that. I think yeah, obviously yeah. I just don't have that. Just don't have that level of what you call it in that moment when I felt it in the
right.
moment. I just don't have that same level of yeah. I can't I
Yeah, this
can't
is
be
more
too.
sad. This is more
Mhm.
sad. This is not a yeah. This is not. This is like less of
Super
a. This is
dejected.
yeah. This is a dejection. That makes total sense. Yeah. But that's what's interesting too, is because people often there's like the stages of grief kind of thing, and that comes into a lot of things. But I mean, definitely one of them is anger. Just to say, so I
Mhm,
think that our society judges anger a lot, and I think anger is like actually really good. I think like
mhm,
there's a lot of, like, for example, in the dementia stuff, like I think I've mentioned
mhm.
before, but
Again, I
they
agree.
try to yeah, they're trying to get you to remember things, but not things that might make you angry. So only happy thoughts, and I'm like, I think you would benefit from a more complete human, happy, sad, angry, glad, like, you know, like the fucking I think a wider range of things would be more
Anger's
effective for
fun.
drawing out the person. But it's like, so I don't know, I guess it's all
Wait,
about what you want to do.
were were you the one that told me that the stages of grief are just completely fabricated and have no? Then
Oh, I
that's
mean,
just
yeah,
oh.
but like they're a generally like it's a generally true thing, where it's like when people go through processing complex emotional events, oftentimes they're not sequentially that way, but they are like the stage of grief. Like, you will have aspects of those feelings probably the whole time, of like both denial and anger, and
Mhm,
of, you know, bargaining, and, you know, bargaining is part of denial, and, you know,
mhm,
denial is part of avoiding anger, and anger is part of, you know, like driving, you know, to sadness, and sadness is part of how, you know, so it's like it's all connected, but it's like, I
mhm,
think it's not, yeah, it is bullshit, and then it's like a stage thing. People often say, oh, you need to get through all the stages. No, it's like it's just a representation of the things that you typically go through, I think, for
mhm. Okay, but
um
they aren't sequential level stages. That's really funny because
right.
um the way that's being conceptualized, just think about that for a second. It's the fake Akagi. It's the sort
It
of
is.
very much you know, Alan Watts sort of critique of what you call it, everything is so precise and mathematical,
roboticized. Yeah.
roboticized, yes. Which is,
I definitely want to talk about the Slovak word for worker being robota, right? That's what it was. Like that's
that's so funny.
fucking
Yeah.
crazy to think
That's
about. Like, right?
just thinking about that now. It's funny in two ways, just because it's a robot, so I'm already thinking about, it's like, you guys are, that's obviously conjuring the images of, yeah, this is work, it's you being a robot and then going and working whatever the fuck you're doing for work. Funny, actually, I don't know what so many people, actually most people do for work. I just never ask those questions. um so I don't know particularly what she does, but the Robotnik being the boss, which is really funny because Robotnik is the enemy in Sonic. He's the bad guy.
Yes.
So Dr. Robotnik being the bad guy and the boss being the bad guy. Wow. Uh, Czech slash Slovak influences in Japan. Like, they have some like
Confirmed.
philosophers over there trying to sort of trying to make the next anti corporate anti anti whatever the fuck, anti capitalist.
Well, I think what it speaks to is just how fucking consistent these things are. Where it's like it's the case across industrialized societies where you have these power structures that it results in this. Like it results in this in Slovakia, it results in this in Japan, it results in this in Europe, in America, and then those same critiques emerge from there because the same processes of standardization, of mental homogenization, of flattening, of the the face being the same no matter what, like the C3PO face being the same no matter what. Like this is all a representation of the same set of things that are like widespread across industrialized society. And another thing to keep in mind is like, I mean, it's not like you can say for sure that these, I mean, a lot of these critiques are still being made during like the Soviet Union. So it's not just like an anti-capitalism thing. Like it's a kind of an industrialized sacrifice the worker for the greater good kind of critique also. It's like it's a critique of how individuality is kind of sacrificed at the altar of productivity. And I think like the fact that so much of the goal is to smooth out the thoughts of people to make them able to like it's the sat-nav thing. It's like, yeah, it's a much more chaotic and complex world to navigate if you engage with it dynamically, but also you're much more alive. It's a much more real. It's an actual world. It's not just like a fucking gamified. I need to do this to this to this, and then once I've done this, I am done.
It's funny how you say that's gamified, because I use that term because I know how people use that term, but I use the term in the other way, whereas the game of philosophy is self-imposed challenges. And this is the beef I had. So I don't know if you know what a trophy hunter is, where it's the PlayStation trophies, right? To me, I can. Or game core. To me, I don't. I can never, view that as a legitimate thing, because what you're doing is following corporate mandated model of how to 100% the game, quote unquote 100% the game, and get these pre-established trophies. And I'm thinking, well, high rounds has nothing to do with the trophies that exist in the game, but who's the better player? Who's the one that's been more accomplished in the game? Obviously, the high round player, of course. The person that does level 1 run on Elden Ring is more accomplished than the person that's gotten all the achievement, because level 1 is way harder than doing all the bullshit. No upgrades, no hit, of course, but those are not achievements, right? And so when I say gamify, for me, I'm thinking about, in gaming communities, what we do is I'm talking about, I hate using these terms as in like we're real gamers, but in terms of gamers, but more so other people that are very competitive, and they're very much proposing ridiculous self-imposed challenges that are insane, and then overcoming those challenges being the overcoming a mountain. For me, that's that's gamifying in life. When I'm talking about so if I apply that to life, gamifying it would be these like restrictions of, like we're doing mapless, by the way, we're playing mapless, and then we actually have to navigate through talking to people. That's, to me, that's gamified. So it's funny that it's so actually kind of anti-gamer sentiment here. I mean, I know
it's kind of because that's the idea with okay, like imagine the goal is to just go fast only. Like, that is kind of a gamer goal that's like self-imposed. But then imagine if the goal is like, completing the game 100% based on corporate dictates. Those are both gamification of an experience, but One is like a human imposed value upon a game, and one is like a top down directive. And like what I'm saying with the gamification of like, I guess like in the standardization, it's kind of like it's like a checkbox. It's like you have to complete the task. It's like Portal. It's like in Portal where you're fucking moving the box from the fucking, and like the real game starts when you realize that you have to combine a bunch of stuff and make, and solve the puzzle yourself. But it's like until then, like the first stage is you're fucking just moving a box onto a button and like going through a door. Like that's kind of what I'm talking about when like you're talking about like navigating in a gamified way. It's like just very direct, very literal, very straightforward, and like completionist. It's not, I think the Trophy Hunter is a good example of that, where it's like that is the gamer sentiment, but it's like fake and it's like corporate imposed, and it's like that's I don't know. I think the robot image is like so good, and that's also what bothered me with the whole argument about developer intent is like I'm like we're so if we're so far from that, we're so far from developer intent. Like we've made like at First Rooms, like we've made it, we've made it, like this is our thing. Like they don't. Why are we fucking trying? And I'm like, we all know you're not really. It's like it's fake. It's like we all know you're not really fucking doing dev intent. You're just using that as an argument to get what you want, right? But it's like that's still like that sentiment of like we need to follow what the game's and devs intend. I'm like, Zomba's a robot, dude. Zomba's fucking soulless, dude. Like it's crazy.
Especially when he only adopted that argument when it was what the hive mind decided. It was really funny because he was fluid with that too. Very unfortunate. That he was.
Yeah, I gotta go see my grandpa.
Okay.
I gotta get ready, like get a little more dressed up, and then I'm gonna leave. I gotta leave in like 5 minutes.
Make sure you have no holes. Yeah.
Yeah, the holes or stains. All right, that's
or stains. Yes.